Okay, so I just finished watching Slashers, and wow, what a trip. This movie is absolute chaos in the best and worst ways possible. After finishing it, I just wanted to make a video. I want to walk you through the plot, share what I loved and didn't like about this movie, and I just want to have fun talking about this. I actually watched it because a podcast I listened to, Deadlock, a pro wrestling podcast, shout out to them, a guy on there named James Darnell, a legend. We were talking about horror movies, and he talked about this movie, Slashers, direct to video horror movie from 2001. And he kind of explained the concept, explained the movie, and I thought it sounded really cool, so I gave it a watch. And it's a pretty fire movie. Shout out to Deadlock, they're awesome. I recommend James, Tony, Johnny. They're cooking over there. They're the best wrestling podcast in the nation. They got an indie promotion, DPW, Deadlock Pro Wrestling. They're lit. They're lit. Go shout out Deadlock. Shout out Deadlock. Anyways, so the whole premise of Slashers is there's this Japanese game show called Slashers, but the S's are dollar signs, so it's like money, where contestants volunteer to survive being hunted by costumed killers, serial killers. I don't know why I wrote costumed in the script. I kind of just wrote this script whatever. That's whatever. Why would anyone go on this show? Well, because they're trying to get some money. And the winner of this show will get $18 million, which is hella money. So, yeah. Also, all crimes are legal on the show. They can't be held liable by law for anything. Excuse me. I don't know how they found the legal loophole, but they just did. They're just oh, it's Japan, which is crazy. But, yeah. This episode that they're doing is the first time they're doing an American episode. So they have 6 contestants from America: Megan, Devin, Michael, Rick, Rebecca, Branda. And they're up against 3 killers: Chainsaw Charlie, Dr. Ripper, and a new killer that hasn't been on the show before, Preacher Man. Right off the bat, it's just insane, over the top. These guys have fucking 1990s wrestling gimmicks as serial killers, but they're legitimate murderers. And the doctor guy is the all-time scorer, which means that he's caught the most bodies, which is just insane. Just insane. Basically, it's just yap, 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 yap. Megan is oh, I'm actually on here to be a martyr and be a sacrifice for how awful this show is, and to die because people wanted me on this show. And then the fucking doctor comes up and is oh yes, take your titties out. And then he takes her titties out, and then the whole movie he's just take your tits out, take them out, get them out. Hey, you, take her shirt off. It's dude, I already don't like you. You're already gross. You're already a murderer. Just tone him back. But anyways, yeah, Megan all political, they're chilling, and then they split up. There's this girl, Rebecca, she literally gets cut in half by Charlie's chainsaw, and it's messed up, for real. The doctor, holds Megan there and, makes her watch it, and, you just literally see, the chainsaw, they show a good amount of it, and then they show, her fucking upper half, just coming apart, and her arms, dude, it's messed up. It's honestly messed up, and it's really good gore. They cut away and then cut back, and she's obviously a doll now, so they can do the gut spilling out thing, but it's not her anymore because now it's a mannequin for her upper half. It's pretty bad, but it's also just so goofy and so stupid that it's whatever. And then Megan slips on her fucking torso. It's a fucked up movie, man. It's a messed up movie. Then I don't know, the other people are waddling around, just yapping. They're in the house where they started, and they're we gotta get out of here. And then they get on this bridge of death, which is just insane. And Rick and all of them, Rick, Megan, what's her name? Rebecca. No, not Rebecca, Brenda. Rick, Megan, Brenda, and Michael are on the bridge with Chainsaw Charlie. They're literally it's this super narrow bridge above a pit of spikes. And Rick is just standing there, and then they're about to go face off, but then boom, cut to commercial, and nothing can happen in commercial. They already kind of established that earlier. Also, one of the killers died earlier. Preacher Man got killed, which sucks. This movie just does a lot. It's really crazy. And then Rick is face to face with Chainsaw Charlie, and he's if you were a real man, you would fight me, you'd give me a fighting chance, you're not so tough. And the chainsaw guy, he's got this huge, hey now, yeah, welcome to Texas, welcome to Japan, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna get you, boy, oh yes I will. But then, like, when he's talking to Rick and this Rick guy's, like, threatening him, he just starts being like, hey, man, come on. Like, you hear this guy? Like, this guy's crazy. This guy's a lunatic. He, like, drops the southern accent. And Rick's like, what happened to your southern accent? And then he's like, look, man, I got a wife and kids. Like, I'm not trying to do this. Like, he says, I'll let you pass. And I'm like, there's no way you can trust this guy. He's a murderer. But then they go back from commercial, and he's letting him walk. And then Rick is the one that turns around and just tries to jump him. And then Chainsaw Charlie gets him in the guy with the chainsaw. And then they're fighting, and then they just fall off the bridge onto the spikes, and they both die. And it's just like, this movie is insane. This movie is insane. And then this guy, Michael, I mean, just is a freak. He's just a total freak. And they go to this, like, sex room where it's like you're allowed to have sex on TV, and like the killers won't come and interrupt you until you're done because sex is rating. So the show like wants it to happen, so you're completely safe like during it. And so he tells Megan this, Michael, and then she says no, like, I'm not trying to have sex with you, like, what the hell? And then he tries to, force himself, and it's not very pleasant, but thankfully he doesn't get to do it. And then Devin saves her, and then he scares her off. And then we cut to this room, and like they do this weird thing where like Devin and Megan are like talking to each other about like cereal and like foods they like and trying to like humanize the characters, but it's honestly just so boring. Like some of the dialogue in this is just so bloated and so not good, but that's okay. It's a horror movie. I'm not expecting 5-star dialogue. Anyways, Devin like goes to investigate something, and then he goes into a room. He sees Michael laying on the ground like with blood, so he assumes he's dead. And then the doctor pulls up with these big shears. Like this movie has a lot of feelings of like the game Clock Tower. I don't know if anybody's played those games, but there's like Clock Tower 3 on the PS2 where like you're in a house with like multiple different killers, and Clock Tower OG has a killer with like big shears that runs around and chases you. So I think this is kind of like a nod to Clock Tower. There's also like Resident Evil like transitions with doors. When like the doors are opening, it like goes into the door like a Resident Evil cutscene. It's pretty cool. Like the horror video games definitely had an impact on this movie, I feel like, especially coming out in 2001 PS2, Yeah, we're getting crazy. Yeah, basically Doctor turns the lights out. Doctor versus Devin in the dark. Devin turns on, or Doctor's got fucking night vision goggles. He's just playing games with them. But Devin's too much of a G. He like catches him from behind, stabs him in the ear, and then he says, "You gonna die." He just kills the Doctor like in cold blood. And it's crazy. But then Michael gets up and kills Devin. He stabs him with a stake, and he's on TV like, guess what, bruh? Tabloids been talking about me. I'm the Bible doll killer, and I came on this show to confess to my crimes. And I can get away with it because I'm not legally liable to anything here. So I'm going to get out here with all my money, and I'm going to go kill way more people. And it's crazy. And then he kills Devin, which made me mad because I like Devin. He was cool. He's a cool character. He goes to find Megan, and so now it's just Michael and Megan. Now we know Michael is a crazy serial killer. He's covered in blood. He's got the shears from the Doctor. Megan's got a stake. And then they cut to commercial with them facing off. And then Michael just starts yapping, being like, oh, yeah, like, I'm this killer, and, like, I love killing girls, and, like, explaining his strategy. And it's messed up. But then Megan says, like, oh, you just confessed to all of the crimes, and we're at commercial. So, like, this video just captured that, and we're not on the air, so you can be held liable. Like, this is a confession, basically. And then he's like, like, that's not true. But he starts to low-key believe it, and then she runs away. The cameraman, like, trips Michael. Michael's like, what the hell? Like, now I don't have enough time to catch her. And then he's like, oh, yeah, you guys want harakiri, right, for your ratings? So then he takes the shears, and he just goes and cuts his head off, and it's like, oh, my God, this movie is just whack. And then it ends with the cameraman like going up to Megan being like, you won, like, let's go walk out there. And then he's like, hey, I'm gonna be out of a job, so trying to give me money. She's like hesitant at first, but then they walk out on stage. She's getting congratulated. It's raining confetti and money. Everybody's happy for her. She won $18 million for being the last to survive. And then she says, I'll pay the cameraman. She tells the camera guy to turn it off, and then puts her hand on the camera, and the movie ends. And it's insane. It's just insane. That's all I can say. It's an insane movie. Some of the dialogue is terrible. Some of the acting is terrible. Some of the effects don't look the best, but that's okay. It's a direct-to-video horror movie from 2001. Like, it doesn't have to be a fucking Tarkovsky masterpiece. Like, it can be what it needs to be, which is a campy, fun, good time. And it's a cool concept. Like, it's a concept that I agree with others that I would like to see explored more and tried by more franchises. Like, this is a really cool idea, and I think the movie is really cool. I think it is a found footage movie, but not in like a tired way. Like, the cameraman's like an actual character and like a person, and like, it's not just random. Like, it makes sense because you're watching it. It's a cool movie. It gets a 3 out of 5 from me. It's got some flaws, but it is a fun horror movie. And I'd recommend it. I recommend watching it. So there you go. There's my review of Slashers 2001.